Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing well. In this video, I would like to go over the questions that I received, some of the comments that I received about the topic of the devil's name, which is Akbar. So there were some really nice comments, some questions. We're just going to go over them. So rather than me individually answering them, so everyone can benefit from there. The first comment I'm going to go over is from brother Farid. The first part of the comment I'm not gonna talk about. We are gonna start from here. So brother Farid had two very good observations. He says two other observations I have is that in that verse 678 and in the following one 679, at the end of each verse, Abraham uses the word tushrikun and al-mushrikeen. So if you read that verse, Abraham uses those two words. Basically, tushrikun means you associate, and Abraham is saying that, hey, I have nothing to do with what you associate with Allah, referring to Akbar. So Abraham is saying that I am clean from you associating Akbar or tushrikuna Akbar with Allah. And then at the end talks about al-mushrikeen, which is basically the associators, those who associate something or someone with Allah and his words. So these are the associators. So and then he goes on to say, as a sign that anyone who puts Allah with Akbar will be committing official shirk. So Abraham, he's basically, brother Farid is telling us that Abraham is teaching us in the Quran that those who worship Akbar or unknowingly associate Akbar with Allah, they are actually associators. They're mushrikeen. And Abraham uses that word in an abundantly clear manner, so we know about this. He goes on to say that God could have used kafirin, dhalimeen, and etc. But as I have mentioned before, Quran is very detailed. There's a reason, there's a purpose for everything. It's coming from Allah. Each word of it, there is a reason for it. Some of it I have mentioned before, we might not know the reason yet. There might be questions that happen 300 years from now, and one single word used in the Quran will be answering that question that will be posed in 300 years, but we just don't know about it because those things have not happened yet. So but shows otherwise. So this was really good observation, brother Farid, and that's why I wanted to share it with everyone so you can see it's really good. I have several videos on who associators are. Quran abundantly clarifies that for us in a very, very clear manner, does not leave any sort of doubt about who associators are. Quran actually tells us that those who come after the Prophet Muhammad and then they differ, they start bickering with each other and they become sects, they are the associators. And Allah tells us in the Quran, I have a full video on this, and Allah tells us in the Quran that these people will have nothing in common with Prophet Muhammad. Nothing. Even though they claim they are followers of Prophet Muhammad, they have nothing in common with him. They have nothing to do with him. Allah makes it very, very clear in the Quran for us. Those who come after you and they become sects, they have nothing to do with you, and Allah calls them mushrikeen or associators very clearly in the Quran. That's not something that I can come up with. It's so clear. You just, as soon as you read it, you know it. So, and basically that's a prophecy that Allah is telling the Prophet that these things are going to happen after you, and the believers are going to divide, they're going to disbelieve, and there's going to be a fitna, and then you're going to have sects that come after you. And Allah tells the Prophet in the Quran that these, don't worry about it, these people who follow these sects have nothing to, Sunni, Shia, whatever, they have nothing to do with you. So, and the brother is actually talking about that here as well. The second observation that he had is also very interesting. So the second observation is that the 3 times of Salah, so if you look at my video about the times of Salah, is 2 plus 1. I told you about the signature of Allah in the Quran. Allah signs off on that. 2 plus 1 equals 3. So whenever you see that, that's a signature. Allah signed off on it. And all the most important items in the Quran, He has signed off on it by 2 plus 1. So 3 times of Salah, that's again 2 plus 1. So I have a video on that. You can watch that, several videos actually on that. So these times are when the sun is absent. This is beautiful, from the sky. So each time of the Salah, in the morning, basically dawn, or in the dusk or evening, and also at the early hour of the night, sun is not there. Sun is absent from the sky. Sun is under the horizon. So that we do not bow down and prostrate in front of the sun, which is Satan used in that verse as Akbar. And as they say, Allah knows best. Brother, of course Allah knows best. I just want to tell you that you have to be more self-confident. Allah knows best, but Allah has put what He knows in the Quran for us to learn. And obviously you know right now very well too. So so that is great. Great work, great observations. Thank you for posting this comment. Another brother Taitu Muhammad asked me, is like, would you discuss about second coming of Jesus and about Imam Mahdi? So second coming of Jesus is in the Quran. I will definitely talk about it. Give me some time, I'll get to that as well. However, Imam Mahdi, I don't consider myself an expert in it because it's just a matter of hadith and sayings, and unfortunately my expertise ends with the Quran. I only follow the Quran, brother. But I will definitely talk about Jesus, inshallah, soon. Brother Khalid Abdul Razzaq Amin, inshallah you will be Khalid in paradise, in Jannah. He mentioned, Salam brother, beautiful video indeed. It is beyond all means frightening to see most ummah unknowingly worshipping Iblis, unknowingly. For Allah is never Akbar. I second that. But Allah is Al-Ali and Al-Kabir, the most high, the most great, as mentioned in 2262, 3130, 3423, 139. Allah is also Al-Azim, as mentioned in 2255. Allah never mentioned nor associated Himself as Akbar. Allah is, however, the most high and the ever greatest, as mentioned in the Quran. Blessings to you, my brother. That is so true. Please, brother, look into that and reply if you agree. Of course I agree. How could I not agree with the Quran, brother? That's the whole point of my channel, is just to the Quran. I could not have said it any better. I really I appreciate the nice words. Thank you. And peace and blessings to you too. Another brother said, Salamun alaykum wa alaykum assalam. Says, Waladhikrullah Akbar. The verse 2945 states that zikr from Allah is the best source of opinion, which necessarily implies that Allah Himself, from whom zikr came, is the best source of opinion, and thus Allahu Akbar. Zikr is not just chanting with tasbih. Brother, I didn't really understand. It's just, that is for dhikrullah, means Allah's remembrance. When you remember Allah, la dhikrullah, it means Allah's remembrance. Allah is actually talking about the salah in that verse. It says, Inna thalata tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar. It says, definitely, verily, the salah prevents you from bad things and from immoralities. So, and then right after that, Allah says, "Wala dhikrullahi akbar." It means the remembrance of Allah. When you think about when having Allah in your mind is even bigger and greater. Basically, in greater than what? It's a comparison. It's comparing it greater. Basically, it says that the remembrance of Allah has greater effect in preventing you from immorality and doing bad deeds. So that has nothing to do with Allah. I don't want to say that with the Akbar that is used for Allah. So this has nothing to do with that. So I don't know how you came up with this, but inshallah, watch the videos, meditate, and ask for Allah to guide you. And also, dhikr Allah is not talking about Allah. It's Allah's remembrance. Allah uses also Akbar for punishment of Allah, but never for Himself. Never. You never find Allah using that for Himself, because Allah knows the future. And that's why when in that verse that I showed to you, Allah actually uses masculine as opposed to feminine when Abraham is talking about it, and says how dharabi as opposed to how the hirabati. So because Allah is pointing that the Akbar is used for the actual God behind the scenes that they are worshipping, which is the devil, Iblis, Satan. Another brother mentioned, and I'm going to just summarize this. He said that Abraham did not know what he was doing at that point. Basically says that Abraham did not know what he was talking about. He said he was still in a great confusion. He was not yet in his mission as Rasul. So you cannot take his words literally, or basically you cannot take him seriously. He just didn't know what he was saying. He was not doing his mission. And so it's not necessarily doesn't mean that it's a masculine thing, because he just didn't know what he was saying. And then I obviously objected to his comment, and then he said that every time he tried, he noticed that this is not a real God. Brother Sharifaz, I don't really know what to say to this comment, to be quite honest. I am a little bit disappointed that you even think that Abraham didn't know what he was saying or he was doing at that point. Abraham did know what he was saying. He was actually pretending to be a follower of those idols. He was pretending. He was suffering. He was in pain from the fact that these people were worshiping idols. So he was pretending he was a follower of those idols. And then he was using that in order to try to make them understand that they are worshiping nothing. They are worshiping the devil. So that's what he was doing. So he was doing it in a very, very smart way. And Allah chose what he did. Allah chose what he said to put in the Quran. This is Abraham. There's a reason. Abraham has done so many things. Out of all his actions and his travels, Allah chose specific things that Abraham did. Specific things that Abraham said, and put them in the Quran for a reason. Don't think that Akbar was chosen out of nowhere over there. And also, I tell you that Satan also chose the word Akbar to associate with Allah, again, on a purpose, because Satan knew that. Satan is making a mockery of us. He's basically telling Allah, look, I got your servants. These were the people you guided. Look how I misled them. I took that word. There were so many other things that people could have said for Allah. They could have said Allahul Kabir, Allahul Kabir, Allahul Kabir, Allahul Ali, Allahul Ali. But they didn't. And all those things are in the Quran. But they didn't do that. Iblis himself was in charge of this. When these people lost the path during the Umayyad, Iblis, the Satan, I told you the verses, Iblis was physically there. Quran tells us. Iblis was physically there. He chose that. He chose that the name Akbar, the title Akbar, and put over there. These people were really, I'm not saying all people, but the ones at the top, the priests of Akbar at that point, they knew what they were doing. They knew what they were saying. But then the rest are just following, of course. Majority of them, they just don't know what they are worshiping. Another brother said that other people on YouTube don't say what I say. That really, I don't know what other people say on YouTube or on other places. What I say, I just say the Quran. If I'm just reading the Quran for you, and you should really just pay attention to the Quran, not what I say. And if it is from the Quran and if it is correct, you should follow. And if it's not from the Quran, then you should not follow it. There's another comment that one brother said he's clearly not referring to Iblis as he's comparing the stars to the sun. So this is very interesting comment. It says there's no femininity to stars and to the suns. These are inanimate objects. Clearly the reference is to the sun and not the sun, not the son. You're totally out of context. Linguistic issues got no bearing on the context of the message. So that was very interesting. I just and then he goes on to say that stars and sun are synonymous of the Milky Way. There is no reference in the context regarding shaitan. So you think that Allah. So this is like totally different than here. So let's respond to this part and then we'll go to the second part. So brother, obviously you I don't know from your comment Yoshi Cohen, so I don't know if you are you have Jewish backgrounds, but even in Hebrew there is a feminine and masculine for a lot of linguistic things. So in Arabic, let me teach you a lesson. In Arabic, objects have feminine and masculine, a lot of them. So sun is feminine. So whenever you're talking about the sun, you use feminine pronouns for it, as hiya, or when you're referring to it, you as ha, like the example that I showed to you. Shamse va duha ha, because it's feminine. Or when the verb that you use, it has to be feminine for the sun. So in that verse that I showed, in that hada rabbi hada akbar, this is my Lord, this is Akbar, it doesn't use feminine. So that is linguistically, there's huge problems over there. The reason why he doesn't use, because Abraham is not talking about the sun that we see in the sky. Abraham is referring to the real object behind the sun, the driving force of that religion that Abraham grew up in, those idols. He's referring to that, and he's calling that Akbar. Then Allah gives us another verse that tells us who that is. That is the shaitan. That when Abraham is talking to his father, he says, oh my father, do not worship the devil. His father didn't believe he was worshiping the devil. They were worshiping the idols, the sun, the moon, and all those things. So in their own opinion. So Abraham is telling them, teaching us that these people, that Akbar is a title of the devil. Okay, I'm going to do a quick example of an Arabic word just so you can all learn. For example, in Arabic, for the car, what do we call car? For those of you who know, we call a car as sayyara. Sayyara means the car. Now, sayyara, the word sayyara is feminine in Arabic. So you always refer to it in feminine. So whenever I'm referring to a sayyara, I refer to it in feminine form. But let's say I'm talking about this car. I'm going to give you an example. Let's say I'm talking about this car, and then suddenly I refer to it in masculine. So if I say hadihi sayyara, it means this is car. But if I'm looking at this car, and I say hada akbar, I'm no longer talking about the car. I'm talking about the driver. So I will be talking about this driver. I will be talking about this person, when I say Hadha Akbar, I'm talking about this is Akbar. Akbar is the driver of the car. So even though I'm looking at the car, I am referring to the driver whose name is Akbar. I'm not talking about the car itself, because the car as Sayyara would have come in the feminine form. Now, even though I'm pointing and I'm looking at the car at a Sayyara, now I'm using the masculine form. I'm talking about the driver who is in the car and driving it. I'm talking about Akbar, who is driving this car. And that's exactly what Abraham is doing. Hopefully you found this little answer useful. But then this brother also asks, so you think that Allah does not know what's in their hearts? Do you think that Iblis is in their hearts, or Allah? Surely Almighty judges according to intention. Then he went on to say that you're undermining the Almighty with a lack of intellect. Almighty knows the heart of his believer. Brother, of course Allah knows the heart of his believers. I never said that Allah doesn't know the hearts of his believers. Allah knows the hearts of everyone, but that's not an excuse for you to worship the devil. Allah knows everybody's heart, but it doesn't mean that you are allowed, that you have been given a free pass to worship the devil just because in your hearts you are thinking that you are not worshiping the devil. Allah gives us an example. Abraham's father did not believe he was worshiping the devil. Please watch my videos carefully. Allah has given you 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen and learn. Do you think Abraham's father believed that he was worshiping the devil? No, he didn't. He was father to Abraham, Allah's friend. But Abraham could not save him. Even though in his heart he believed he was worshiping the true God. The same with the Hindu religion. I actually have a video about that, idolatry in Islam. Watch that video. I play a clip of a Hindu priest that says that they believe in their hearts that they are worshiping the one true God. They don't believe that they are worshiping the devil. So what do you think their judgment is? Allah is aware of their intentions. Allah is aware of what is in their hearts. But they are worshiping the devil. Just like the Sunni, the Shia, they are also worshiping the devil. They are worshiping Akbar. But at the end of the day, of course, it is up to Allah. But Allah has given us example in the Quran. And Abraham's father is the best example you could find. His idols, the devil, they could not save him. Even though he was father to Abraham, Allah's friend. Another brother made a comment and mentioned it's very difficult to talk to family about this. Brother, I know how difficult that is. I have the same problem. I have had the same problem. It is what it is. Allah guides whoever He wants. Imagine, that's why Allah gives us the example of Abraham. We are not better than Abraham. In fact, we are nothing compared to Abraham. I am not worthy of the dust under the feet of Abraham. If Abraham had problem guiding his father, how much more you and I should expect to have problems guiding our families. But we should try. We should try. But when it becomes clear, and Allah tells us, when it became clear to Abraham that he could not guide his father, he just said, peace, salamun alaikum, peace, and just moved away. And we have to do the same thing. We should try our best to guide them. But when it becomes clear that they do not want it and they are not willing to listen, our mission is over. Allah, everything we want, Allah has answered it in the Quran for us. Brother Rashid Jaweed made a comment. Alhamdulillah, brother, you really are Rashid, no doubt about it. لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٌ, and it's just so nicely he mentioned. There's really nothing I can add. So you cannot compare Allah with anything. That's why Allah, and Akbar is a comparative form. That's why you can never use Akbar for Allah himself. Never. Never. And Abraham doesn't use it for the son either. That is for devil. That's the title of the devil that Abraham is using. Abraham in that verse It's talking about the driver of the car. It's not talking about the car. It's talking about the driver, the masculine driver of the car, who is the devil. It's not talking about the car as sayyara. That's why he doesn't use the feminine form. Another brother mentioned that you should not have expectation of people to believe, and that is so true. I really believe. I personally have I have to lower my expectations. No doubt about that. Brother Afsar Khan, thank you so much. I completely agree. It is not me or you or anyone else who guides anyone. At the end of the day, it is Allah who guides people. So thank you for this beautiful word of advice. And he said something beautiful that I think it's worth hearing for all of us, because he said expectations create disappointments. That is disappointments. That is so true. Someone shouldn't stop conveying Quranic messages without leaving conflict. It is people choices at their free will to take it or leave it. It's basically it's up to the people. Then he went on to say that people who read and understand their own Quran, people who do their own research by themselves, and they are not like sheep who follow the priests of Akbar, they will accept it, or at least the thought process will start. I could not agree more, brother. Thank you for your comment. Another viewer asked a question, so is the adhan an invitation to worship the devil? Absolutely, brother, no doubt. Now, I'm not saying that they are doing it they're not doing it they are on purpose. They're not doing that they don't know. They are doing it unintentionally. So the adhan, 5 times that you hear azan, is an announcement. Is an announcement of shirk and disbelief. The first word is Allah is Akbar. Allah is not Akbar. Allah is not the devil. So, and then that's why the devil has increased the number of prayers for them. You know, the Quran tells us that we have to pray 3 times, but then they pray 5 times, 6 times. And if you ask them, they say, oh, you are lazy. You don't want to say prayers. You don't perform salah. We perform more salah than you do. What's wrong? So we are actually better. No, you're not performing more salah than I do. You're worshiping the devil. I don't worship the devil. Ya ayyuhal kafirun. La a'budu ma ta'budun. I do not worship what you worship. And you don't worship what I worship. So we are not worshiping the same thing. You are worshiping Akbar, the devil. I worship Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. You're worshiping 5, 6 times. I worship 3 times. I don't want to do more. I don't want to do less. I only follow Allah and His command. So don't think that these people are worshiping Allah. They are worshiping the devil. That's why they are not guided. That's why you don't find peace in them. They're constantly in war, killing each other, cutting each other's head, lying, cheating, oppressing people, oppressing themselves. So hopefully you found these questions and answers helpful. I think I'm going to close this chapter. It's very clear for those who want to listen and for those who want to learn. There is a verse in the Quran that I encourage you to read, and that's verse number 2, chapter 2, verse number 171. I just remembered it and I just wanted to share that with you. It says, مَثَلُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا كَمَثَلِ الَّذِي يَنْعِقُ بِمَا لَا يَسْمَعُ إِلَّا دُعَاءً وَنِدَاءً صُمٌّ بُكْمٌ عُمْيٌ فَهُمْ لَا يَعْقِلُونَ. It says, the example of those who disbelieve is just like the example of livestock or flock that does not, or someone who is basically calling or talking to flock or livestock, and then they don't comprehend the calls and the cries of the shepherd. They are basically deaf, dumb, and blind. فَهُمْ لَا يَعْقِلُونَ. So they do not understand. So, and that's unfortunately the situation of this ummah, majority of them. It just doesn't matter. You just tell them and they just don't want to listen. It's like as if they are just like, they go day to day. I see on some of the comments, it's just they watch the video, they listen to it, but they still continue doing the same things, which amazes me. But peace and blessings to all of you.